So, I'm watching The Mandalorian, not the Book of Boba Fett, but just something seemed to be missing from the Book of Boba Fett. We ain't getting no Boba Fett. Had no boba. I want to try to drink. Went to the mall, got this drink. Supposed to have these little bubbles in the bottom. It didn't have it. I went back and I was like, hey, there's no boba. This was that drink. There was no boba. Good though. This was probably the best episode so far, and it's because it had, I guess, more violence. And that's what I'm looking for. When you see Star Wars, you want to see lightsabers, and you want to see lasers, you want to see ships colliding and blowing up, you want to see somebody choking somebody, wiggling their hand in the air, force choking people. You want that. We weren't getting a lot of that in Boba Fett, but this episode, we got a little bit of that. We got the black saber. We got we got a lot. We didn't get Boba Fett. We got the black saber. We got fights, gangsters, got people cut in half, actually cut into 3 pieces because they got cut in half and then they got decapitated after they were cut in half. How bad is that? Dude cut a dude in half and then was like, nah, and gave him the whack and cut his head off. That's bad, boy. So in this episode, it talks about the Mandalorian, Jin, and his journey to find other Mandalorians, and what happens with that Beskar steel, that Beskar spear, the black saber. Talks about a lot of stuff. There's a challenge for the black saber. The only way you can, if you've got the black saber, then you rule Mandalore or the Mandalorians. You're their leader. The only way to not have that saber is someone takes it from you by force. They've got to fight you and beat you and take the saber. You can't just hand it to someone. They've got to beat the brakes off you. So he fights who I would have thought was the strongest Mandalorian, and he beats him. We learned something about the black saber if you're using it, and I'm not sure how he even turned it on because don't you have to have metachlorians in your system? It didn't get it was created by a Mandalorian to begin with, so maybe you don't need it for that particular one, but if you're using it and you're not using it correctly, it increases in weight. He actually cut himself because he's using it, bang, bang, bang. He's fighting people and everything, and then all of a sudden it starts to get heavy, and he accidentally nicks himself. And I don't know if it hit the cloth or if it cut through. It must have hit the cloth because I don't think it cut through the Beskar, because the armor itself didn't seem to be damaged, but he had a cut in his leg. So I'm not certain that it can cut through the armor, but it definitely cut his leg. Didn't cut it off, but it nicked him. This episode did a lot. This episode built up Mando. It showed his ruthlessness. It showed that he is willing to and able to use the dark scepter, the dark saber. It showed a lot of stuff. He still has feelings for Grogu, who apparently he's going to go see. And he got himself a new vehicle, and he test drove it, and it was cool. They didn't say they had any armaments. It was just fast. So they built him up, and then he got approached by Boba's assassin, and she's like, hey man, you wanna make a little money? And he's like, doing what? He's like, being muscle. To which he said he would do it for free. So I don't know if because he feels camaraderie with Boba, or if he wants to build an alliance with Boba and the rest of the Mandalorians. Now there's 3 sets, at least, of Mandalorians out there. You've got the Forger trying to reunite Mandalorians. You've got Boba out there building a fortress, in a spot, and he's a Mandalorian and he's ruling. So that's a third faction. Second faction. Then you had a third faction, the ones who met and saved Mando previously. So there's at least 3 factions, but there's got to be more, because there's got to be hundreds of them out there scattered, maybe even thousands of them out there scattered. The Empire tried to destroy them and was unsuccessful, killing all of them. But they did get scattered to the 4 winds, so they're out there. I think they're going to forge together. And apparently, the Empire only lasted for 30 years, but the Mandalorians have been out there for 10,000 years. But they did destroy their homeworld, so who's tougher? 10,000 years? 30 years, but then during them 30 years they destroyed their homeworld. But they're still here, and the Empire's not, so I like this episode. I wish that Boba Fett had the intensity that Mando had, the desire to kill. And one of the things that I liked about Boba Fett was he always wore the helmet. You never knew him. He was an enigma. He was a mystery. He was a puzzle. And then he took his helmet off. And you're like, oh, okay, all right, I got you. I like the fact that he wears that cape. They said that the creators of the armor got that cape from Clint Eastwood movies. They used to like Clint Eastwood movies. They thought it was cool, and they put it on him, and it works. I dig that. But they're slowly starting to unravel the world of the Mandalorians. So that's kind of cool. Next week, we're going to get back to Boba Fett. Apparently, Mando's going to be part of his team. I guess the 2 of them together with Fennec Shand, I mean, that's tough. And you got Black Christensen, that's tough. They're going to be tough to beat. I think they're going to be a force to be reckoned with. But that's what I think. I also think that this episode of the Book of Boba Fett, I think that this episode deserves a nice, solid 9. Yeah, 9 bags of popcorn. Because that's what I think about that. More importantly, what do you think about that? Next, if you had a chance to see the video, just talk about it in the comments. And as always, if you like the video, if you like the content, subscribe. And then like.
Popcorn passport. Get your popcorn passport.